Happy Friday, everybody. I'm trying to clean up a few questions about PowerSchool and entering grades and standards and all of those things. I'm hoping that I can clarify a few things for you today. A couple of questions that we've had in the past and continue to have. When we enter a 3 out of 4, and we're using a standards-based grade or a 4-point scale rather, it's showing up as 75%. Well, that's not what the intent was, so how do we clean that up? I'll get to that. Some of my standards aren't populating. Why is that not happening? And how do I print a final grade report? Because when we do that, like we had in the past, it's spitting out things that look kind of funny and don't quite jive with what we're trying to do. So I'm using Jim Baxter as an example here today. And so the first question. So I've entered a 3. You can see that there's 4 points here. I enter a 3 for the student, and oh, what the heck? It's a 75%. Well, the reality is 3 divided by 4 is 75%. But that wasn't the intent here, because the intent is that a standards-based grade that should be really more like an 85%. And I think that's why we've been sort of gaming the system here, because we're trying to get things to show up the right way, and we've got the point eights, the point fours, and rightfully so. That's what I would have done too, to make this just work for me right now. But there's cleaner, better ways to do that. Let me show you that. So if we go into editing the assignment, this right here, this box, take a look. We've got points, percent, letter. The answer here is if I'm using a 4-point scale, I'm using this letter for 0.0. And so if I change this, that in turn will make this a little bit cleaner. You can still use percents. You can still use points. Maybe I've got an 85-point test or something, although I would probably never do that. But maybe there's a situation like that and you want to use these things. You can do that in the assignments. And the only reason we can do that in the great scheme of philosophical things called grades is because these standards are really what's going to generate the overall grade for the semesters. And that's what's going to be reported. I'll show you that later. So yeah, go ahead and do whatever kind of mathematical wizardry you'd like to do on the assignments, because it's ultimately going to populate the standards. But getting back to this initial issue, if I change this, Jim, to letter, you will see, if I save this, it's going to change a few things, and hopefully it works out for me here. I can tell you that because we have previously entered grades here, it's not going to automatically sort of populate. You might just be better to wipe this out and re-enter things. My apologies, and thank you in advance for working with me on this. We're doing some pretty cool things here. Some principals are starting to take note and are looking forward to maybe replicating what we're doing. It's really not anything new, but it's maybe new to Delta and Schoolcraft counties. So, okay, wait a second. It's still not coming up here. And so if I sort of delete this, we can make this work somehow. Maybe try a save score. Okay, there it went. See, so I can see how there's some frustration there. It wasn't automatically made the change, but Siebert, it's not doing anything well. I had to come down here and save scores, hit the refresh button from time to time. Hopefully that answers that question. This one here. Why aren't my standards populating? Wait a second. I've got my standard here. The assignment is linked to my standard. And I do that over here by adding standards. It's linked, wait a second, auto-calculate grade assignments. We check that, I hit this, it should all pop, wait a second, Siebert, it's not populating. I hate this system, you're wrong, this is horrible, and it's not working. But what you've got to do, it's because these were previously entered, again, you might be better off just kind of wiping these out. And so in this scenario, I go put that back in. Okay, there it populated. That's pretty much the intent, right? So that 3 is an 85%, and it populated this standard as a 3. Remember, your assignments won't count on the grade. It's the standard. One thing I need to talk about in these standards, Jim, I noticed this, and kind of I want everyone to tune into this. When we look at the standards, this specific standard relates to, I'm going to come back here. If I look at this assignment, I look at these standards, residential construction. The intent of standards is that we're reporting on what skills students have. So this is sort of a philosophical sort of conversation right now. Is residential construction a skill or a competency that students have? I would argue kind of it isn't. And the reason that is available as a standard is simply because when I dragged in this gap analysis, I think that was under like G, I don't know, it's an overarching header. Building and construction design isn't necessarily a competency. Demonstrating knowledge of the design of construction projects is. Interpreting blueprints. These are the standards to be associated with assignments or just graded individually, and as opposed to really just headers and titles. So Jim, please go ahead and change that. Maybe something that would be more appropriate would be something under here, one of these guys. Okay. So take a look at those things, folks, as you move forward with this system. I'm going to pause here. One thing to note is as I changed that to 4 to 0, it did wipe out those 3.8s, 3.4s and things. And if we are truly using a 4-point scale and we don't have to game that system, that's probably the best option, is to stick with just 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s. So the next thing I want to talk about is these grade reports. We'll do that right now. Okay, I'm back. Next question, how do I print these grade reports? If I did this like we did in the past, we go to reports, and I'm just going to do individual for now so I don't run all the students for the sake of cleanliness in this video. I'm not sure, in the past we probably had these things checked. I hit run report and this pops up. Wait a second, now I've got Q1, grade 4, and I like, what do we have going on here? We've got all these things. This isn't really helping. I've got 24.9 out of 28. I've got an 8. This isn't communicating much as far as I can tell. I'm not making heads or tails of this. So how do we do this? How should we be doing this year? Let me show you. It's pretty simple. When we go to reports under select data, you can show assignments. That's fine. Again, it's not going to actually create a grade. The assignments populate standards. The standards are what's going to spit out the grade. What I would do is click off assignments. Almost done here. For your reports, I would go individual, student report. I'm going to just select one student again for these purposes. Come back to criteria. The important things here that I want you to note include this, include standards, final grades. If you'd like assignments, I believe that muddies some things, but it's up to you. But the important things are to show assignments with no data, include standards, identifier. Really, if you just check those things, reporting term, Q1 for now. Run the report, and I'm very happy with the way this looks. It shows all of the standards that I'm expecting my students to know throughout the year. These are all of the technical standards. Now, maybe we don't have to print all of these for purposes of Sally sending these out to schools. However, if I was as a parent, I really like this. It tells me that my Johnny is able to demonstrate use of tools, machinery, at a mastery level. Remember, the grades are going to be based off of the standards, and it's going to be the mode of mastery level is actually going to populate the grade. Shows some other things there, but as a parent, I would really like to see these things. Again, be careful about what standards we're picking. Recall maybe these broad indicators aren't really what we're measuring. We'd rather be measuring these things. That's pretty much it, folks. Sorry for the lengthy video, but I know there's a lot of questions here. One other quick thing I found under settings, your standards grade calculation, whoops, display settings, you might want to check this, new assignments, start checked for your auto calculate. So I would do that to all of your classes so you don't miss that one step up in your assignments. Hopefully this answers questions. I gotta scooch up to Manistee right now and work with those folks on how we're going to work in PowerSchool in a completely different system with two locals. Thanks again, everybody. Thanks for sticking with this. I do believe this is going to become quicker and easier. It's definitely something I stand behind. I'm going to be showing this to principals Tuesday of next week. And just like with all change, it's difficult at first, but I'm a real big believer in the good work we're doing here. And I suspect you'll start to see some other schools following suit. And I'm going to begin charging consultation fees for showing them how the PowerSchool setups go. On those lines, just so you can see what my world has been like lately, I dump all your standards into a spreadsheet, identify courses. These fields on top are super specific to how they're spelled, and even with upper and lowercase letters. You've got conversion scales, grade scales, year ID, assignments, active. It goes from there into a text file like this. I'm working with binary code, ones and zeros. Is this assignment active? Is it not active? If you need your standards changed, believe it or not, I can actually easily change this coding that then gets dumped into my side of PowerSchool, and I'm doing things like special functions, importing and exporting, data import managers, and that's what I have to do in order to upload those things into PowerSchool. So believe me, there's some work on my end as well, and I appreciate all the work you're doing. Thank you very much, everybody, and have a great weekend. Bye.